A Chinese company just built a car that costs $4,500. That is not a typo, not a concept render. A real electric vehicle you can buy today. It outsold Tesla's Model 3 in China 3-1 last quarter. The BYD Seagull. For comparison, the average new car in America costs $48,000. A used Honda Civic costs more. And BYD isn't losing money on every unit. They're profitable. The car has air conditioning, a touchscreen, airbags, and a 190-mile range. Buyers can turn the key, or rather, press the start button, and actually drive it home. It exists, it's shipping, and it's rewriting every assumption the West had about what electric vehicles cost. So here's the question that terrifies Detroit, Berlin, and Tokyo. How is this possible? And why can't America build anything close? BYD started in 1995 making rechargeable batteries for phones. The founder, Wang Chuanfu, was a chemist who borrowed $300,000 to build a factory in Shenzhen. He watched mobile phones proliferate across China and saw an opportunity. Someone needed to power them. By 2003, BYD was the world's largest phone battery maker, supplying handsets across Asia. Then they bought a failing car company and decided to build electric cars using the battery expertise everyone else was outsourcing. While Detroit was buying batteries from LG and Panasonic, writing checks to foreign suppliers, BYD was becoming the battery supplier itself. In 2020, they cracked the code that makes the Seagull possible, the Blade battery. Most EV batteries use lithium nickel manganese cobalt oxide, expensive, energy-dense, and prone to thermal runaway, meaning they can overheat and catch fire if damaged or overcharged. The Blade battery uses lithium iron phosphate instead. Cheaper materials, more stable, and it doesn't need cobalt, which costs over $30,000 per ton and comes from politically sensitive regions. BYD's version is shaped like a blade. Long, thin cells that pack into the chassis with almost zero wasted space, fitting snugly between the wheels and under the floor like tiles. Because BYD controls the entire supply chain, from lithium mining to cell production, they pay cost, not market price. When Tesla orders batteries, they pay what LG or Panasonic charges them. When BYD needs cells, they're buying from themselves. Tesla's batteries cost roughly $110 per kilowatt hour. BYD's Blade comes in around $70. That $40 gap, multiplied across a 50 kilowatt hour pack, is $2,000 saved before the car even has wheels. What really separates BYD from everyone else is something Detroit abandoned 50 years ago: vertical integration. BYD doesn't just make batteries. They make the lithium hydroxide that goes into them, the semiconductor chips that control the motors, the electric motors themselves, the air conditioning compressors that keep cabins cool, the seats, the glass, the steel, the plastic dashboard trim. They even make the machines that make the machines. Tesla outsources 70% of a Model 3. They order parts from hundreds of suppliers and assemble them. BYD outsources about 10% of a Seagull. Every part they don't buy from someone else is a part where they don't pay a markup, don't wait on a supplier's delivery truck, and don't lose margin to a middleman taking a cut. BYD produced 3 million vehicles in 2023 and is on track for 4 million this year. For context, Ford sold 1.9 million vehicles in the US last year total. BYD operates production lines that never stop. Factories running 3 shifts, 24 hours a day, with robots doing 70% of the welding, painting, and assembly work. The robots move precisely, repeating the same motions thousands of times without fatigue. The labor cost per car is under $500. In the United States, legacy automakers pay an average of $3,000 in labor per vehicle, before healthcare and pensions are added on top. BYD's workers earn a fraction of that, and the Chinese government subsidizes the company with cheap land, tax breaks, and low-interest loans that Western companies cannot access. If you're enjoying this, hit like and subscribe. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. Even if Detroit wanted to copy BYD's model, they couldn't. Building a battery factory in the US costs twice what it costs in China because of land prices, labor wages, regulatory compliance, and utility costs. The equipment inside that factory is mostly made in China. 60% of the world's lithium refining happens in China. 80% of battery-grade graphite, the material that stores charge inside batteries, is processed there too. Tesla tried to build a more vertically integrated supply chain and still buys batteries from Cattle and LG. Ford is spending billions on battery plants in Kentucky and Tennessee through joint ventures with Chinese companies because it simply cannot do it alone. You can't onshore what you never learned to make. In May 2024, the Biden administration announced a 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles, a tax that would double their price at the border. A $10,000 BYD Seagull would cost $20,000 at a US port. Canada and the EU followed with their own tariffs, trying to wall off their markets. But tariffs don't make American cars cheaper. They don't create battery factories or train engineers. They don't shrink supply chains. They just protect a domestic industry still trying to figure out how to make an EV anybody wants at a price anybody can afford. Meanwhile, BYD is selling the Seagull in Brazil, Thailand, Indonesia, and Mexico for under $11,000. The global south is going electric, and it's not buying from Detroit. BYD isn't just undercutting on price. They're iterating faster than anyone else. They release new models every few months with updated batteries, new software features that drivers can download, and tweaked designs based on feedback. The Seagull you buy today is different from the one sold 6 months ago. Lighter, more efficient, with a larger screen or better air conditioning. Tesla used to do this. Engineers would push updates constantly, making cars better after they left the factory. But even Tesla has slowed down. The Model 3 was released in 2017, and the core design hasn't changed much since. While Ford spends 3 years designing a new EV and another 2 getting it through regulatory approval and safety testing, BYD is already on version 3, cheaper and better than what came before. The American auto industry spent the last 20 years optimizing for profit, not production. They killed the sedans and built bigger SUVs and trucks because the margins were better. People paid more for them. Ford's F-150 Lightning starts at $55,000 and loses money on every unit sold, with the company gambling that brand loyalty will eventually justify the losses. The Seagull costs a tenth of that, and BYD turns a profit on it. General Motors spent over $35 billion on EVs since 2020 and has sold a few thousand Chevy Bolts, struggling to scale. It's not that American engineers can't design a cheap EV. The system they're working inside won't let them. BYD just launched the Shark, a plug-in hybrid pickup truck that gets over 60 miles of electric range before the gasoline engine kicks in, and 100 miles per gallon combined fuel efficiency. Price in Mexico, $53,000. The F-150 Lightning costs more and gets 30% less range. They're opening factories in Thailand, Brazil, Hungary, and Uzbekistan, spreading across continents like a company planning to dominate for decades. BYD is already moving up market. The Han EV and the Seal compete directly with the Tesla Model S and Model 3 at half the price. They're not just the cheap option anymore. They're becoming the better option. This isn't really about one company or one car. It's about a mindset. China didn't wait for the internal combustion engine to die. They went straight to batteries and motors. While Detroit was protecting the old business model, the profits from oil, from fuel, from complexity, China was building the new one. Vertical integration, brutal iteration, long-term state backing, no quarterly earnings pressure from shareholders demanding immediate returns. BYD can afford to lose money on a car for 2 years while they perfect it, watching data, learning, improving. Ford and GM can't. They answer to Wall Street every 90 days. The West treats manufacturing like a cost to minimize. China treats it like a weapon. The $4,500 BYD Seagull will probably never be sold legally in the United States. Tariffs, regulations, and politics will keep it out. But that doesn't mean it doesn't matter. BYD sold over 500,000 vehicles outside China in 2023. They're the #1 EV brand in Israel, Thailand, and Brazil. They're second in Norway, ahead of Volkswagen and other European giants. The American auto industry spent a century telling the rest of the world what to drive. That era just ended. The next generation of global drivers won't grow up wanting a Ford or a Chevy. They'll grow up with a BYD parked in the driveway. The West still has advantages: brand legacy, safety regulations that are rigorous, a used car market that holds value because people trust the brands, infrastructure that works because it's been built over decades. But those advantages are shrinking. BYD is licensing Western safety tech and building charging networks in every market they enter. They're learning. Legacy doesn't mean much to a 25-year-old in Jakarta who just wants a car that works and doesn't cost 3 years' salary. The question is whether the West can build anything that competes before the gap becomes permanent. This isn't just about cars. BYD is already applying the same model to buses, trucks, and energy storage. The massive battery systems that store electricity from solar and wind farms. They're the world's largest electric bus manufacturer. Their battery systems power grid-scale solar farms, storing energy when the sun shines and releasing it when cities need power at night. They're not a car company, they're a battery company that happens to make cars. And batteries are the new oil. Whoever controls battery production controls the transition to clean energy. It's not about one cheap car or one fast factory. It's about who's willing to build the future and who's trying to protect the past. China looked at the global auto industry in the 1990s and knew they'd never catch Detroit on internal combustion engines, too many decades behind, too much expertise locked away. So they didn't try. They built a different game. The West outsourced, financialized, and optimized for short-term returns. And now, when the transition finally arrived, there's no muscle left to compete. The seagull isn't a fluke. It's the result of a system designed to build, iterate, and win. The engineer who started with $300,000 making phone batteries just became the man who redefined what a car costs. The future of driving wasn't decided in Detroit, Stuttgart, or Tokyo. It was decided in Shenzhen. And the world is buying accordingly. The race is over. The question now is, what happens next? Subscribe and turn on notifications. The next story makes this one look small.